If you're looking to become a software engineer in 2025, this is what I would do, for example. Step number one, I would not lean on tutorials in the way how they are designed to do, right? I would not learn everything. I would not learn everything about JavaScript, everything about CSS, everything about any technology. What I would do is I would first learn the role that I'm trying to become. So let's say that you're trying to become a full stack developer. The first thing I would do is I would contact someone who is a software engineer, who is a full stack developer, and ask, hey, so you are a full stack developer, what do you do? Okay, that's the first question you need to ask. Okay, so what does a software engineer, full stack developer do? If you didn't ask this question, you'd probably be wondering, or you'd be guessing that software engineers write code, which is true, right? We do write code, but that's not the only thing that we do, right? We communicate, right? We are social people, right? Social in the sense that software engineering is a social activity, right? We talk with product managers, designers, other software engineers, data scientists. We talk with business people. So there's a lot of communication that happens. What is software engineering? Software engineering is also about communicating new ideas. Software engineering is about maintaining a code base, dealing with technical debt. Software engineering has to do a lot. You know, if you look at from 0 to 100, right? If you look at 100%, you're probably writing code 20% of the time, right? Or maybe even less. But most of the time you're reading other people's code. And you're trying to, you may write some greenfield code, but most of the time what you're doing is you are, extending upon the code that has already been written. When you are doing software engineering, sometimes you have to venture out in a new path, right? How do you learn how to learn, right? Embracing failures. There's a lot of failures in software engineering. How do you deal with failures? How do you deal with errors, right? How do you debug a problem, right? And now going back to the meat of software engineering, which is programming, right? What do you need to learn about programming? What do you need to learn about JavaScript and TypeScript, right? A lot of times you learn a lot by reading code, right? Reading other people's code. That's the best way to learn, in my opinion, because what you're learning is, first of all, it's applicable, right? It's used in real world. And at the same time, you're learning something useful. You're not learning everything, right? For example, let's say you're building a CLI app, right? And CLI app for what? Let's say you are building a CLI app that translates a language into different languages, right? Like Mylan. And, okay, so that's and what does it need to save in, right? What are data formats? So JSON, probably. Let's say, keep it simple. Does it needs to be namespaced or not? The translations, right? How do you save them? Where it is saved, right? Gathering the requirements, right? These are very important skills, right? Asking the right questions. And this doesn't come with online courses and online tutorials, right? And given, right, you may not have the experience, obviously, because you haven't worked in a company, but what you can do is, once you have got the basics, right, take online courses, but don't just follow from 0 to 100. Learn the basic stuff, right? Just learn the basics of JavaScript. And to understand what is important or not, once you understood the basics, try to run open source software. There's a lot of open source software, and try to read through the source code to see if you can understand or not. One of the great open source software is Supabase, right? Go to the Supabase repo and start learning how it is structured, how they write large-scale code base. Knowing how to read a code base, navigating through the code base is a very important skill. And I'm not saying that you're going to get expert overnight. It's going to take lots of time, right? You need to read a lot of code, right? Let's say you fake it and you become a software engineer, right? And you are in the office. What do? You still have to learn to read, and you cannot take shortcuts, right? You may have lied in your resume, but when you start working, you need to show things, so you'll get caught and you'll get fired. So the best way to prepare yourself is to learn how to read, how to code, and extract out the essence from the code, so you can reapply in your own case, right? So, yeah. You cannot get good at software engineering just by watching videos. You have to apply. You have to apply what you learned. You have to make a lot of mistakes, right? You cannot become a great writer just by watching videos. You cannot become a great singer just by listening to music. You have to put in the work. You have to put in the work day in and day out. And you have to repeat, right? For example, if I were to become a software engineer now, I would look at an app and I would say, okay, there are an application is made out of different components, right? You have the settings, you have the crux of the application, the one that the main functionality, and you have these little functionalities. So what you want to be doing is you want to be figuring out, you want to be curious about how these things are implemented, right? Then you want to see the network tab. You want to get yourself familiar with the network tab. You want to get yourself familiar with the elements tab, the applications, the way how caching works, yeah, that's my 2 cents of if I were to become a software engineer. I wouldn't start with tutorials. I would use tutorials as a way to familiarize myself with the just get myself used to the basics. Once I have the basics done, I would apply it. I would build something, I would make mistakes, right? I would reflect on my mistakes, and then I would repeat again, right? Building smaller applications, not starting with the really big, because you don't want to be discouraged, right? You want to start small. You want to build something small, and then you want to eventually, as you get better at something, you want to add more, you want to do more complicated stuff, and try to replicate things that are already out there, right? Try to understand how they work and how you can reverse engineer them. Talk to people, right? Have your code reviewed by an actual engineer. If you have a friend who's an engineer, have them review your code. And in the age of AI, I think AI is an incredible tool, right? I think AI can serve as your assistant. You can ask if you ask something, right, what's wrong with my code? Or how can I write this in an idiomatic manner? AI is going to write it for you. So even if you don't have someone who is a software engineer friend, you can still ask AI. And if you look at AI, it has been trained on thousands of open source code bases. So you may even get better answers with AI. Who knows? Play around with AI, right? Use AI to your advantage. Actually, I wish I had AI when I started to code in 2016. AI revolution really came after ChatGPT 3.5 was released. That really democratized AI. Everyone was, every layperson was, talking about AI. So use AI to your advantage. Make lots of mistakes. Make projects. Communicate your projects. And also another thing I would share is share your learning in public, right? This is another thing that I would do, is share your things on YouTube, right? What you learned. Because what you're doing is, even though you're not working at a company, you are learning to communicate your ideas. So obviously you're not going to be perfect in the beginning, but as time goes on, you're going to get more and more better, right? And that's how humans are, right? In the beginning, we suck at anything. But as time goes on, and as we repeat those things, we get better and better. And that's what you should aim for, is getting better every single day.